It's 970 WAMD Aberdeen and 1330 WJSS Havre Grace, and this is the Harford Edge, keeping you on the cutting edge of what's new in Harford County and beyond. I'm Cindy, that's Bob, and joining us in the studio today we have a special guest, Kathy Smith, who is the CEO of the Center for the Arts. Kathy, welcome to the Harford Edge.
Oh, Cindy, I'm so thrilled to be here with you and Bob this morning.
Well,
Thank
we're
you for
happy to have
inviting me.
That's great. We want to talk all about the Center for the Arts because this is a big project on the horizon and it's going to be a huge undertaking. But let's talk a little bit about your background because you're new to this effort. You just joined the Center for the Arts in October. You have experience in managing nonprofits and in fundraising, and I'm guessing that's going to come in handy. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Thanks, I'd love to. Well, my background is very varied. I have run international nonprofits. I have been a hospital administrator, and I have been an executive for a state agency. So it's really very varied. Thematically, there is building infrastructures, working with staff, working with community leaders, working with funders, and bringing them all together around the table to make things happen.
All right. Well, it sounds like you're going to be looking to make some things happen here with the Center for the Arts. So take us through where this project is. First, maybe what we ought to do is start with the vision. What is the plan for the Center for the Arts? It is a building, but it seems that it's so much more than that.
I'd love to tell you about my vision for the center. So my vision is that this is a place where people come together locally, almost as a meeting room, as a community living room, but has a regional feel and pulls people from New Jersey and New York, as far as Richmond, Harrisburg, because the kinds of things that will happen here are going to be so dynamic and energizing. Folks are going to want to be here. It's going to be a magnet. So my vision is that we will, while having visual and performing arts, this will integrate folks across the socioeconomic spectrum, intergenerational activities, free stuff going on, performances.
I like free. Free is good.
Free stuff is great. But what I also see is that we're going to really utilize technology in ways that have never been. Here we are in your radio studio. Wouldn't it be awesome for folks who would love to know how that works to be able to come to the Center for the Arts and have a learning lab? Wouldn't it be great?
Oh, yeah.
So I see.
Where's our room?
Well, okay. We'll be building that.
We're going to be in one of those behind the glass, like the nuclear bomb shelter at the Smithsonian.
I really can't comment on that, Bob. However, what I would tell you is that, and you may know Jim Fielder, so I'd like to give him credit for this. Jim and I in a conversation said, could you see a digital museum there? I would love it. Can you imagine it?
Yeah.
I see that. I see this as a place where folks who are on the margins of society can have experiences that may otherwise never have been available to them. I see a place where children understand now, get the connection between music and math, and suddenly start excelling academically. I see a place intergenerationally where folks who may not, particularly folks who are relocated with BRAC, who may not have grandparents and others nearby, where those intergenerational experiences can occur in profound and dynamic ways.
Wow.
Incredible.
That's quite a vision.
Well, I'd love to participate in the music and math thing with the Gödel, Escher, Bach is a fascinating book that connects music and art and math.
And those connections are important because there's a lot of emphasis now in education on science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and we've got to get the A in there. It's not just STEM, it's STEAM, right?
Is.
And so that's so important. So you envision this is a place where there will be performances. You'll have auditoriums there.
Yep, auditoriums, meeting rooms, art displayed. I can see folks throwing pottery, like all kinds of mediums, classrooms, meeting rooms, events. I could see us having our gala there in the future.
Ah, yes.
We have a shortage.
The Harford County Public Library gala, yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Nice, yeah, that'd be
And
good.
could you see that with some of the art that comes from some of the finest museums in the world?
So that's part of the vision as well, so that we would get art
I don't
for
see
display.
I think that our vision is only limited by our imagination.
Yeah, well,
I think the doors are wide open.
So it seems, at least from my perception, that this the mission and the purpose of this center has broadened from what I always thought was just a performing arts venue. Maybe I was just misunderstood it. To more of a cultural, knowledge, learning museum.
Absolutely. Education is really key and has always been key to, and part of our foundational documents in who we are. And so, but education doesn't stop because you leave school. Education is a lifelong process. So I see folks who are actually artists and performance coming here. I'd love to tell you a story if I can.
Sure.
About one of my sons who lives in Abington with his family. When he was a little boy, he's going to love, I'm telling you the story, by the way. When he was a
What's
little
his name?
Peter.
Hi, Peter. We're hearing your story.
When he was in third grade, the BSO came to our elementary school. And he was invited. He was a violin player. He was invited to play with them. At the end of third grade, he said to me, Mom, I don't need to play the violin anymore. I mastered it. So you see what happened? The takeaway for me in that is that he was so inspired. His confidence soared because of his ability to perform with them. And wouldn't it be fabulous to have that kind of inspiring confidence instilled in every child who comes to the Center for the Arts?
And not just for music, but
Not just for music,
the
for
fine arts,
everything.
For performing arts. Wow.
Could you imagine
that's
that?
Huge. And what would this be? Say I'm an artist in our community. What would this center mean to me?
Wouldn't you want to display your artwork there?
Yeah, I would.
Wouldn't you like to have an opening there? We would love for that to happen. Wouldn't you like to be found there? Wouldn't you really like that to be your international debut there? That's what I say.
And I think the opportunities for collaboration with the library is just great on so many different fronts. To provide a venue for and a means of manifesting so much of the things that the library is doing so well right now on a grander scale that's accessible to more people. I think it's a great opportunity. I
can see actually a library within the center.
Oh, sure.
Oh, sure.
You know, I can see all kinds of learning labs within the center. I can see the folks who have gone on and retired who said, you know, I always wanted to, A, B, or C, find the place. I see this as a safe place for kids to be mentored. We find in today's society we have few safe places. I see this as a really safe place where families can come together for an evening, for a weekend, not only for concerts and to appreciate arts that are on display, but to appreciate each other, to really get to know each other as a community. So really having that great community field, but a place that is so dynamic and energizing that folks from way beyond our state are drawn here.
Yeah, I mean, it strikes me as an effort to put Harford County on the map in terms of the arts and culture, and not that we don't have other things to offer, because we do, but this is something that is so unique. I mean, is there anything like this in the immediate area?
Not that I know of.
Not in Baltimore County,
not that I know of.
In Pennsylvania. I mean, you're talking regionally here. You're talking about a multi-state area. It's really a fascinating vision. Now we've got to get down to brass tacks. And that is, you've got a site, and the site was a gift in a will. And tell us a little bit about where we are with that, because as I recall, first of all, tell us where the site is, and give us some of the background about that gift with a catch.
Oh, sure. Well, the site is really in Abington on 24 and Wheel Road, in that location there.
So it's bounded by, it's along 24 on the side of where the Abington Library is, right, on that side, and Wheel Road.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. And so the catch is that it's a center to build a center for visual and performing arts. And the shovel has to be in the ground within 7 years of that document being signed, which was last February.
So this was the will. Was it the Grayson? It was a woman whose name was Grayson. Is that
Graham,
right? Graham.
Catherine
I'm sorry.
Bayless Graham.
And she bequeathed this property, and she wanted it to go for some sort of cultural arts. That was her idea.
Specifically, yep.
And it's how many acres?
41 acres.
And how many are going to be used? Would be used by the.
All 41 of those acres are for the Center for the Arts.
All right.
So we see that as a terrific blessing, as you can imagine.
I didn't realize there was 40 acres over there.
There's more than 40 acres. There's 2 other parcels that have been designated for other things.
Okay. All right. So her vision was that this would be, she gave this money, she gave it to the county?
The county has it, and then it's designated for Center for Visual and Performing Arts, which is where we step in.
Okay.
And we are a 501c3, so we're not a government nonprofit, so we're not a government agency, ready to raise the money. We have done a lot of work in advance, though, to determine the feasibility. And
Yeah,
that's
I
really
know
important.
there's a business plan. You've done studies with area businesses. Talk a little bit about whether, I mean, some people might say, I'm not sure the area can support a project of this scope.
Right. There have been questions about that. And so there's been a business plan, a cultural plan, feasibility plans, other economic impact plans. And so we have recently hired earlier this year, a strategic planner to come in and sort of validate that and look over, where does this really sit together? And his preliminary information back to us indicates that we're on target. So he's done the research. He specializes in arts, in the arts community, arts and cultural community. And so the good work that's been done to date appears to have been validated. And, if it needs to be morphed, we'll morph it.
Right. It seems like the plan has grown since it was initially conceived, and there are all these possibilities, and you'll figure out as you go along what things are viable and what things aren't. And so it's all going to be, the fundraising is going to be done by your nonprofit, which is the Center for the Arts. And if shovels don't go in the ground in 7 years,
then there's a
what
possibility,
happens?
then we have a possible 3-year extension.
Okay.
So it's not really a drop-dead date,
All right.
if you will.
Okay.
So we have the possible 3-year extension that could take us to 2022.
But
And
what
of course,
would
we don't
happen-
want to
what-
see that.
No, we don't. But I just want to walk folks through what the situation is.
So then then it would revert back to the estate. And what could happen is, what I understand from the community, is 400 townhomes could go into that area. And that, I know, has a lot of people bristling.
Yeah, I was going to say that property, I don't know precisely what the zoning is. I don't know if it also has a commercial zoning, but of course not too far from this parcel we're talking about. There's a lot of consternation about a Walmart that's going in a section of wood that's currently a wooded area, and it's 33 acres bounded by 924 and 24 and Plum Tree Road and Bel Air South Parkway, and folks have been up in arms about the increased traffic and, is this really the kind of thing we want to see? And I hear so often, can't we have a park there? Can't we have something for the community there? Well, just, what is it? It's not even a mile down the road.
Right.
Here is this parcel that could be an art center if all goes according to plan. But if not, it could end up being houses or some other sort of development that folks may not want to see. But of course, what this all boils down to is the money. So how much does it cost? How are you going to raise the money?
Yeah. Well, the current model, and the model is flexible, and the question is, will it be phased in or not? That hasn't yet been determined. So it's a little bit premature for some of that. There have been some soft costs, architectural costs, that have already been done. You may have seen a model that's been floating around the community.
I have. It's quite
Have you?
beautiful, yeah.
And, who knows whether or not that model would be the end result.
And where can folks see that, by the way? On your website?
It's on the website.
Which
absolutely.
is?
Oh, I'm sorry. Center for the Arts, Harford.org.
Okay.
And I'd love for you to visit us there. So we're actually right now, as you speak of fundraising, we're right now in our end of the year campaign, and Musters have this wonderful challenge, $30,000 challenge. We'll match dollar for dollar up to $30,000.
I'm sorry, say that again. Who is matching that?
The Musters, Toby and Laura Musser.
Oh, okay.
And so they will match.
Board members.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are board members. And they are matching dollar for dollar
Wow.
up to $30,000.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
What a blessing. So that's incredibly wonderful.
So you're
We
looking
also-
just for donations,
we're
but you also
looking for-
do
Go ahead.
Dancing for the
We
Arts.
do Dancing for the Arts. That's a big gala that will this year be chaired by Dr. Mary Teddy Ray.
Oh, very popular Harford County figure.
Absolutely. And
She danced 2 years ago, didn't she?
she did. She did. This past year, Mary Medeiros was the winner and top dancer, and then Carolyn Evans was the top fundraiser of the dancers.
So leaders in our community
Leaders
are getting on board with this program.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
and
you're
we-
looking to raise, but let's start with the big pie, and then we'll slice it down. What do you have a dollar figure for what you think this is going to be, and where's the money going to come from? All from private donations, some public money? Talk about that breakdown.
Sure. So it seems right now, based on the work that's been done, is that it's about a $60 million project. Whether that is or not will yet to be determined. But a third of that being raised by the Center for the Arts, matched a third by the county matched a third by the state.
Okay, so 2020.
2020,
All right.
right.
That seems fair. Well, I mean, 60 million is not, it doesn't strike me as outlandish. Edgewood High School, I don't know if you've been to that school, absolutely beautiful facility, $90 million.
Wow. Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, and I see us as partners. We talked about the
Yeah.
digital museum.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you understand how technology would want to partner with this?
Oh, sure.
You know,
Yeah.
I would see this as a place where businesses can come and have meetings and events. There could be wedding receptions there. So I see.
Yeah, and they're really, what are the meeting places around here for businesses to hold? Now, will you have any overnight accommodations? Is that
They're not in the plans
being
currently.
considered at this point?
There has been some rumblings about whether that would be appropriate,
Yeah.
and that'll be determined over time.
Uh-huh,
you know.
okay.
But certainly there is a great need, a great demand for business meeting space. And there's a great demand for other venue space, like galas, for wedding receptions, those sorts of things. So I see that we're meeting needs on many levels, at a community level, at a regional level, and a business level. And I see that as a way of really pulling together families, pulling together community leaders, pulling together the worker bees. And I see us, once up and going and operational, as really becoming the employer of choice. Such a wonderful place. People want to work with and for us.
Well, your enthusiasm is certainly contagious.
I think it's excellent, and I think what I wanted to ask you was, I guess your role is really, I've been thinking about it, fourfold. You're going to manage the center. You need to. Your major role is obviously development and fundraising, or one of the major roles. Third thing is generating public support, and with that political support, or eliminated political resistance, the same thing, and also managing the project. All four huge jobs. What are the main goals, short and near term and midterm, for accomplishing this, and how are you going to measure your success versus those goals, and what sort of strategies are you going to use?
Let me answer your question this way. I see it as three pillars, if you will. One is building the infrastructure, and that's the entire infrastructure, from staff to board and beyond. Building the community. You know, I understand that a lot of the community members don't even know about this project. Can you believe it? And I know that there have been great efforts in having meetings throughout, but this still obviously hasn't trickled down in the way in which it needs to do that. So that's an incredibly important thing. What I've been spending a lot of time doing is meeting with leaders in Harford County to introduce myself, to introduce my vision. And it seems to me that it's a sort of a fresh vision. It's a new vision, and it's more encompassing. I see us, and if you were at Connect Harford, I shared it there. I see us as having a local presence, but a regional reach. So this is our home. And as happens in all homes, we open our doors wide and embrace everyone. But we're going to be bringing in those folks that we want to from far away. So building the infrastructure, building the community, and building the vision I just shared, in a dynamic way, energizing the community in ways that are new and exciting, and then gathering together our stakeholders and inviting them to be partners and listening. That's an incredibly important part of this, is really listening to what are the needs of those who want to partner with us, and what we can do. And
have you gotten? What are you hearing from the community about what's needed?
Well, what I'm hearing is that they're very energized, is what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is that there has been not a lot out there. There hasn't been a lot of messaging out there. I think in some ways we're probably the best kept secret. So I think getting on, and I'm so grateful for your hospitality this morning. So visiting with you and getting the word out is, I think, half of the battle. Mm-hmm. I really do.
Yeah.
And then really helping folks to connect the dots, the business community, the funders, and others, about why what we're doing will have an impact for children, for at-risk. Can you imagine what will happen for those kids who are at risk, who suddenly find an opportunity and a pathway for their future? I see that we can break the cycle of poverty. We can break the cycles that damage and harm communities. We may have the first kids who become the Dr. Carsons of their family right here.
That's so exciting. And you're right, because kids do get to see, listen, they see career pathways. Who do they see? They see entertainers, they see ball players. They participate in that. In those careers as spectators, but they often don't get the chance to do that so closely with the wide variety of the arts. And it sounds like this is a very unique opportunity. Similar, it almost reminds me of Aberdeen Proving Ground, where we have the scientific community, and we do have relationships with the Proving Ground and the school system and children's groups, where those sort of collaborations can take place, and those sort of mentoring relationships can take place in the science-y area. Well, this is in the arts.
It's in the arts, yeah. And interesting to talk about Aberdeen Proving Ground, because the connections between technology and all that happens is so obvious and real. The other thing, though, is that as we think about our military and personnel who are coming back, having been deployed time after time after time, fractured in so many ways, demoralized in so many ways, I see the Center for the Arts as a place for healing. Healing relationships that are strained. When my husband and I were first married, he was a young Army officer, so we have a bit of a sense of what military can do in straining relationships, but nothing like what these young men and women are going through. I see this as a place where folks who are struggling, about art therapy, about music therapy. I see that this is a place where that can take place. And so individual personal healing for our military personnel, a place where families are gathered together and find healing from, who knows what. Maybe children feel abandoned because mommy or daddy were deployed. So a place that they can reconnect in a profound way. So attending to the social, psychological, spiritual components of all of us, really healing body, mind, and soul.
Really fascinating. We're going to take a break because we have to, but Kathy, if you can stay, I want to hold you over to the second segment, third segment, so that we can continue this conversation with Kathy Smith, who is the new CEO of the Center for the Arts, talking about the vision. We're going to take a little break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And we're back on the Harford Edge on 970 WAMD Aberdeen, 1330 WJSS Havre de Grace. I'm Cindy, that's Bob, and joining us in the studio has been Kathy Smith, CEO of Center for the Arts. Good to have you, Kathy.
Great to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Cindy.
Well, we're having fun. We're talking about the Center for the Arts project, and I wanted to play devil's advocate for a minute, because certainly this vision is just knocks your socks off. It's so broad. Is there anything that you think can't be done at this center, Kathy Smith?
I don't think so. I think if we can think it, we can probably do it. It takes a lot of creative minds to do it, and I'm happy to speak to all of those creative minds.
Oh, I believe you. But I did want to ask, because this idea has been floating around in Harford County for quite some time, and as you know, we're in very difficult economic times, and there are people who believe that this is lovely, it's a wonderful idea, but not an appropriate use of local tax dollars. What would you say to those folks?
Well, what I would say is that first, those decisions were made before I came on board, so that's beyond my scope. And what I would also say is that if we're able to fund this without tax dollars, I'd be delighted to do that as well. So my goal is to improve the economic impact, which we know will have a profound economic impact on Harford County and on Abingdon. So why wouldn't we want to do that? Why wouldn't we want to contribute? My other goal, though, is, as we talked earlier, is about building this community in a profound way that has never yet been imagined, and reaching out beyond our community and bringing dollars, by the way, from those who are coming from beyond, from New York to Richmond and beyond, Harrisburg and others. Wouldn't it be terrific to have them here as our guests, spending their money, getting the benefit of those tax dollars here? And that's how it'll happen.
So there's an economic argument as well as...
This huge economic argument, as well as being an employer. So once we're up and going, I talked about that earlier, about being an employer of choice. So I see this is a place where folks who just want a fun place to work can work. This can be a place where folks who have an aspirations in visual and performing arts can come and learn and work. This is a place where folks who are professionals can do the same. This is a place where we've already gotten phone calls from folks who are in running symphonies and said, we'd love to use your space. Can we rent it? It's not quite ready, but we have that. Those are the
we'll
calls.
take a deposit.
Right. Those are the calls, so we know that there is a need and a demand.
Yeah.
And wouldn't we be crazy not to respond? And wouldn't it be terrific, much like Strathmore and Bethesda, to bring the BSO up here? Wouldn't it be great if we were the BSO North?
Yeah, it's also, the fact that you've got this big patch of land right smack dab in the middle of the development envelope. That's not going to come along again.
And I understand it's worth $17 million.
Yeah.
So
that
why
would be just to get you off the ground with something else. So
Exactly.
it sounds like a very, very unique opportunity. So before we let you go, talk about next steps. What are we going to hear next from the Center for the Arts?
Well, we're looking to get the final results of the strategic plan phase 1, and then we'll have a better sense of exactly the scope and project that should be there. We know there will be meeting rooms, we know there will be event space, we know there will be education rooms. Size of theaters, right now we're looking at 3 different theaters. And so what will the configuration of those theaters be? All of that. So that's what's going to be next on our agenda. After that, we're going to be looking at launching a capital campaign down the way, and that's going to be really important. Every dollar is imperative. Every dollar will be well spent, I promise that. And every dollar will ultimately profoundly impact this community.
Wow.
So how do people find out more if they want to help, they want to learn more about it, they want to understand, they want to maybe even join the team in some way, shape, or form?
Give some money.
What do they
And
do?
they can, well, visit our website. That's probably the easiest way. Center for the Arts, Harford.org. There actually can become members too. So there's a great opportunity right on there, just like membership, to look to see what we're up to. And you can always come. I'd be delighted to visit with anybody who would like to do that.
Well, Kathy Smith, we want to thank you for joining us and talking about this exciting opportunity in Harford County and learn more. Sounds like this is a great idea in the works, some unusual gifts, something that you wouldn't expect to have happen, this gift of land, and an unusual opportunity, and we certainly wish you all the best in bringing it to fruition.
Bob and Cynthia, thank you so much. And listen, I will wish you and all of your listeners a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and great success and prosperity.
Thank you.
Thank
and
you
the
so
same
much.
to you.
Thank
What
you
a
so much.
delight.
Thank you
That's
so much.
just terrific. So I'll go there. What about you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think this is exciting. Listen, I understand people who say...
Actually, Kathy, why don't you
Yeah,
have a seat?
you're welcome to stay.
We
I
have another
understand.
10 minutes. You can join
Oh,
us.
I'm sorry.
I understand
Participate.
people who say, times are tight, and do we have money for this? But I would like to see the economic argument laid out. I know that early on those kinds of calculations were made, and you look at what tourism is a huge driver of the Harford County economy, and seems to me that this would fit right in. But I guess as folks would say, the devil's also in the details. As these plans roll out, we certainly want to be continue to inform people about what is going on with this project. And I think part of it is that it's been rolling out for a very long period of time, and then people forget about it. And there was the business with the will and the property and whether it was actually going to happen. But that's done, and so it looks like the ball is absolutely rolling. So we'll keep folks on top of that. Well,
Nothing
we've
to
had
say on
fun.
the air.
We want to thank Kathy Smith, who stuck around. Thanks for sticking around to the bitter end there, Kathy, and Bob, and had a good week, had a good show. Thanks for listening, Harford County. Talk to you next week.